special interest NGOs that align with our values, and the indivisible groups who are organizing rallies and other events to engage voters. As a matter of fact, the Indivisible Roseville group is having an in-person meeting on March 31st, and I would encourage you to attend, and stay tuned for details. Secondly, I spent a lot of time in the last week preparing for Kevin Kiley's Teletown Hall and responding to his very disappointing performance. I sent out a message this morning with my take on what Kevin had to say, so I'm not going to repeat myself. He supposedly had 25,000 people on the line, 25,000 primarily concerned and even angry constituents about Kiley's unwillingness to stand up to the MAGA extremist agenda in Washington, D.C. He's gotten nothing but well-deserved negative press for his evasions, misstatements, and out-and-out lies, not to mention his incompetence in not providing a platform that could accommodate all of the interested parties. There were literally countless numbers of people who couldn't get on the call. What I learned is that Kiley himself is a MAGA extremist and an apologist for the authoritarian regime in the White House and Congress. He was on CNN this week criticizing Chief Justice John Roberts for calling out Trump when Trump threatened federal judges with impeachment that ruled against him. He's just another budding, malignant narcissist willing to do whatever it takes to gain power, not to help his community, but to help himself. Kiley is now doing Trump's dirty work by calling for an FBI investigation of the California high-speed rail project. It's been audited numerous times, but he needs an FBI investigation. Well, the intention is to try to smear Democrats in the state and destabilize our political environment. He's doing Musk's dirty work by proposing a bill to neuter the Coastal Commission so SpaceX can launch as many rockets from Vandenberg Air Force Base as he wants, without any regard for the impact to local communities in our coastline. And believe me, Kiley is not doing this for any altruistic reason. He's doing this so he will get Trump's endorsement and $100 million from Musk to run for governor of California. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Unfortunately, I fear the Republicans have a succession plan that will maintain their disproportionate power in our district and our county. One of our most important tasks in the coming 2 years is to build out our own bench of local elected officials that will be prepared in future to run for higher office. But until then, until we're in that position, we have to come up with a strategy to disrupt the Republicans' plans. So go back to precinct infrastructure building and face-to-face dialogue with voters, for starters. That's how we will go about that. Thirdly, I have been participating in the Placer County Board of Supervisors High School Voter Outreach Program. High School Voter Outreach Program. And wow, what an education that has been. Understand that with such a high rate of voter registration in Placer County, one of the only ways that we can increase our ranks is to talk to young people before they register. My job in these sessions is to explain to students who will be of age to vote in the next election what the Democratic Party stands for. When I went the first time as an observer to one of these sessions, I was taken aback by how aggressively Republicans were lying and misrepresenting their party to the students, and also how little opportunity the format gave Democratic speakers to point out these fallacies to the audience. This week, I was representing the Democrats, and let's just suffice it to say that the dynamic at the podium had a pretty different tenor. Oh yeah. Honestly, you wouldn't believe the crap coming out of my counterpart's mouth. After I drew the distinction between our parties as it relates to women's bodily autonomy, pointing out, as I always do, that pregnancy is a medical condition and that women should have the right to make life or death medical decisions in private with their doctor and their families, my counterpart suggested women who were at risk of death from pregnancy just shouldn't get pregnant. Seriously, she said that. Unfortunately, due to the format, being so restricted, I wasn't able to rebut that particular point by stating that most women don't develop life-threatening medical conditions until after they become pregnant. Then she lauded the Supreme Court decision to send this cultural issue back to the states where people can vote for state representatives that reflect their beliefs on the issue. She assumes, of course, that state legislature districts aren't gerrymandered so that the public's interests are actually represented. This time I did get to challenge her assertion by stating that no woman in America, regardless of what state they live in, should be denied the right to make medical decisions for themselves, that no government should insert themselves into such a decision and basically render women second-class citizens. My counterpart also stated that women's bodily autonomy was being violated by transgenders in sports and in bathrooms, conflating the issues of what is existential, a threat to your very human existence, versus what is fair. I can't honestly say if it is fair that a young woman who works hard to compete in athletics should have to compete against someone whose genetic makeup lends itself to superior musculature, if indeed that is the case. But winning in sports is not the same as staying alive. The fourth thing my counterpart said that astounded me was that government is not there to serve the people. Really, she said that. She tried to equate women's bodily autonomy again with requiring people in certain jobs to take vaccines, right? She had no concept of the importance of government's role in protecting the public's interests or the public's health, especially after Trump dismantled the pandemic response team in the NSA and rendered us totally unprepared for COVID. She went on to state that Republicans are the party of personal responsibility. Next time a Republican says that, I'm going to ask them if they consider going bankrupt 6 times and stiffing small businesses an example of personal responsibility. Or committing felonies is an example of taking personal responsibility. Or sexually assaulting multiple women and appointing cabinet members who have been credibly accused of sexual assault of multiple women is an example of personal responsibility. I was just scratching my head. I raise all this because this is what Republicans are telling the public and telling our children. And we have to be prepared to call them out on it every chance we get. My message to students was this: I've had a great life because of democratic principles. I had an equal opportunity to control my destiny, realize my potential, and make contributions to my community. I was proud to serve my country as an appointee of the Obama administration. I want them to have the same opportunities that I had and that their parents had. To have a future that they deserve, a future that has a healthy environment, a healthy economy that is generating good paying jobs, access to quality education, to affordable health care, and a government that is of the people, by the people, and for the people. I also suggested that they read Republicans' governing blueprint, Project 2025. That is the Republicans' governing blueprint, Project 2025, so they can find out for themselves what kind of life the Republicans have in store for them. We all need to be making these kinds of distinctions. Democrats are driven by facts. Republicans are driven by conspiracy theories. Democrats respect women's bodily autonomy. Republicans want the government to make life or death medical or life-altering medical decisions for women and subjugate them to their will. Democrats want to make it easier to vote. Republicans want to suppress the vote. Our own congressional representative voted for the SAVE Act, which makes it harder for minority, lower income, and women voters to register to vote, supposedly to combat voter fraud by non-citizens, for which they have no evidence. It's never been proven that there's been any significant voter fraud that non-citizens have been voting. Democratic policies favor the middle class and lower income families. Republican policies favor billionaires and corporations. And Democrats respect the Constitution and the laws of our land. The Republicans are openly violating constitutional principles and breaking the laws. And they're destroying our democracy in the process. They quite simply don't think the laws apply to them. My Republican counterpart at the high school said Democrats are fearmongers and to discount the issues that we raise as threats to our democracy, our society, and our community. I look forward to countering this with the fact that fear is an autonomic response to threatening circumstances. We should be afraid that Project 2025 will be fully implemented and we will become a white Christian nationalist dictatorship. We should be very afraid, and then we should do something about it. So please join us in this fight for our democracy, for honesty and decency, for an economy that works for all of us and not just the super wealthy, and for a society that values diversity, equality, and mutual respect regardless of your gender, your race, your ethnicity, age, or your wealth. Please sign up to volunteer, join a committee, become an activist, recruit other activists. Our future and the future of our children and generations to come depend on it. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm going to introduce Ken Ball, our program's committee chair, to introduce our speaker tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. And how about a